I don't know.
Okay, the verdict forms are complete. I will now publish them. They read as follows. In the Circuit Court of the 17th Judicial Circuit in and for Broward County, Florida, case number 19-7166 CF10A, State of Florida plaintiff versus Scott Peterson defendant, verdict, count one. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count two. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count three. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count four. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count five. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count six. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count seven. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count eight. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case.
Why are
The
you
defendant
doing?
is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count nine. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count 10. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict, count 11. We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of
That's
June
it.
2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to address you only by the numbers that are on the back of your badge.
Yeah, him.
Juror number one, are these your true verdicts? Juror number two, are these your true verdicts? Juror number four, are these your true verdicts? Juror number five, are these your true verdicts? Juror number six, are these your true verdicts? Juror number seven, are these your true verdicts?
Wow, look at that. Look
Ladies
at the
and gentlemen,
relief.
I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to each of you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to again give you my sincere thanks for your time, effort, and energy. 99% of the citizens that live in Broward County, a county of 2 million, have no idea what happens when you're actually selected on a jury and you actually serve through the process. But now you all know. And I know most people don't say thank you, but I will say thank you because I know the time, effort, and energy that went into this. I have a thank you letter and a certificate. I'm going to give that to the court deputy who's going to pass that out when they walk you out because it has your names on them. The reason I normally do this in person in the courtroom, but I'm not going to do it today, is because I'm not and have not addressed you by your names. That's why we use the numbers in care of your privacy. I did also want to let you all know I will enter an order today that instructs the clerk of court, the trial court administrator, as well as both parties not to disclose your names. Okay? So the only way your names are going to be disclosed is if you choose. You certainly may choose. If you want to go out there and talk to whoever you want to talk to, you're perfectly entitled to do that. If you want to go out there and never talk to another human being about this ever again, you're perfectly entitled to do that too. I want to emphasize that it's each of your decisions to make. But momentarily, I'm going to have you step in the back and collect your belongings. The court deputy is going to walk out to your cars, and that's going to conclude your jury service. I do have two quick pieces of bad news for you. Number one, I'm going to need those lanyards back. So if you take them off and just put them on the ledge in front of you, we'll collect them from you. Number two, since you actually did serve on a jury, they will not summon you for jury duty for a year, for 12 months. So I'll see you next year. All right, unless you all have any questions for me, ladies and gentlemen, your jury service is concluded at this point. Again, with my great thanks for your time, effort, and energy, there's a certificate for each. Your jury service is concluded and you are dismissed. Thank you very much.
Wow. Just take it all in now. Obviously, they're not happy, and I can understand, but I'm more shocked.
Okay, we're outside the presence of the jury. Everyone can be seated. I do need to address with all parties. I am entering an order contemporaneously. Madam Clerk will have a copy for each of the lawyers, order sealing juror information. This order is specifically directed at our trial court administrator, at the Broward County Clerk of Courts, as well as the state, as well as the defense. I'm going to have the jury verdict forms redacted. The jury information is going to be sealed. So I'm likewise ordering the state and ordering the defense not to disclose any of those names. In this age of electronic multimedia, I'm sure if any jurors would like their identities to be revealed, they would like to speak to media or other sources, I'm sure they will have ample opportunity to do so. But that's not going to come from the state, and that's not going to come from the defense. Ms. Wilcox, you have copies of those orders for you? Okay, very good. Mr. Peterson, I think that concludes your business. At this point, sir, the jury having found you not guilty on counts 1 through 11, I will likewise enter an order of acquittal as to counts 1 through 11. Mr. Eidlosh, is there anything you need me to do regarding Mr. Peterson? No, you're right. I wish you good luck. State, anything else you need me to do? Okay. Then at this point, that's going to conclude the proceedings in 19-7166 CF10A. All right, Madam Court Reporter, that is it.
Well, fuck the state. Look at that. Wow. Wow. And the sun as well. And his family. That's his brother, I think. You see how emotional it is because the lawyer's actually fucking crying, do you know what I mean? Paralegal. Yes. Fusion protection.
You were here the whole time. 4 years. Great job. Great job. Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh. We'll keep going because there might be an interview. Reaction of the families, some of the families, they weren't happy with this, but
They'll tell you.
here he is.
Oh, hi. You guys are still here, huh?
Right into this piss. Go fuck yourself, Ryan.
Scott, so talk to us about how emotional this is for you. What's going through your mind right now in your heart?
Got my life back.
We got our life
We've
back.
got our life back after 4.5 years
5.5.
because of Mark.
Yep.
And being able to put the truth out of what happened. It's been an emotional roller coaster for so long. Endless nights, talking to Mark 1 a.m, trying to understand and learn this whole case. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But don't anybody ever forget this was a massacre on February 14th. The only person to blame was that monster. It wasn't any law enforcement. Nobody on that scene from BSO, Coral Springs. Everybody did the best they could. We did the best we could with the information we had. And God knows we wish we had more.
What do you say to the family, Scott? I know it's emotional for them today too, but this obviously isn't the outcome they wanted. Do you have any response to?
You know what I tell the families? I would love to talk to them. I have no problem calling Mark, saying, "Hey, we want to talk. We'd like to know everything." I'm there. I would have been there from day one. So I'll always be there. If they need to really know the truth of what
He
occurred,
does, Dave. He does.
not only my actions but what occurred, I'm there for them. Me and Lydia, we've mourned with them for 4.5 years. I've seen some of these family members, and I'd love to went over to them and hugged them and said, "God, I'm sorry." But I know that's maybe not what they're feeling at this point. Maybe they'll get a little understanding, but I'll be there for them. I'll be there for them. How could I not?
What about the prosecution? What do you say to the prosecutors who brought this?
I'll let Mark talk about that.
We are extremely pleased with the outcome today. But understand something. This is not just a victory for Scott. It's a victory for every law enforcement officer in this country who does the best they can every single day. How dare prosecutors try to second guess the actions of honorable, decent police officers?
Hi, Stacey Henry.
Through this journey, Scott is my life, my heart, my soul, and people could never understand how are you doing it. And it's simple. The Lord is my rock and my strength and faith. You walk by faith and you never, ever, ever give up.
It's extremely important to understand how we got here. Former Sheriff Scott Israel held a press conference without ever speaking to my client about what happened. From that, every one of us erroneously assumed that my client knew that kids were being killed in that building and he just didn't go in. Well, these jurors made it clear through their verdict that couldn't be further from the truth. He did everything he could. And as a result of Sheriff Scott Israel's reckless, selfish political actions, he had to endure 4 years. 4 years of heartache and misery. No one should ever have to go through that.
Scott, what's next for you? Going home to North Carolina, I imagine. What's next?
I'm first going to go. Everybody who's in Broward County in South Florida who supported me. I'm going to everyone's house. That for the last 4 years has been saying, "Scott, hang in there." I'm giving everybody a hug, the biggest hug I can give, and then I'm going back home, going back to the mountains.
And then we're going to the Vatican.
Yeah.
Tonight we're celebrating.
Yep.
We're celebrating my house, not just a victory for Scott, but the victory for all law enforcement officers.
Amen.
And that the system worked. It took a while. It was rough. It was not easy. But eventually these jurors got it right. And so the system works, and we should all feel good that if you're falsely accused eventually, at least in this instance, they will get it right. They will make it right.
Thank you, jurors.
Mr. Peterson, you didn't take the stand, and I know from speaking to you and Mark over the last 5 years that had to absolutely burn you alive. How did you convince him to not put you up there?
To be honest with you,
Or how did he convince you?
It was just a lot of back and forth, and at the end of the day, Mark's my lawyer, and he knew what was best, and I was going to follow what Mark needed me to do.
When this case started, so that we're clear, he 100% wanted to take that stand. During this case, 100%. He needed to take that stand. That's what he was telling me. And I had to tell him, no, they did not meet their burden, and they should never, ever look to him to prove the case. And I think that his words got out through the testimony. They knew his position. 2 days after this, he said, I didn't know where the shots were coming from. And they could never prove otherwise because he didn't.
Scott, there are school resource officers right now at a national convention convening. They're paying attention to your case. What would you say to those officers who may have been nervously waiting along with you on the outcome?
I think they probably had a very legitimate concern because of this case regarding the issue with the caregivers. But to all school resource officers out there, SROs, we're police officers, and we're there at that school because we want to make a difference. We always have. That's why I had been a school resource officer for 28 years. Because you do, not only you know that you're a law enforcement officer, but you're there to make a difference. So for all these SROs, not only in the state of Florida, but nationally, maybe they can breathe easier knowing, God forbid, if they ever went through something like this, that hopefully the justice system, will prevail for them as well. But I would never want any any law enforcement officer in this country to go through the last 4.5 years of what I went through.
I think it's very important to focus on the prosecutor's office in this case. They had access to the same facts that these jurors did. Every single deposition that I attended, they attended. They knew the facts in this case, yet they persisted with this meritless prosecution. And so you got to ask yourselves, what's their motivation here? And if it's politics, which it clearly is, something needs to be done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. You guys have been great. Thank you
very much.
Thank
One
you.
more thing I wanted to ask you, and you don't have to answer. You don't have to answer anything. But there have been a lot of comparisons drawn between you and Texas.
No.
Do you want to mention
No. Let me just say, those comparisons are completely unfair. Every fact pattern is different. In this case, and I can't speak for Texas, in this case, he 100% didn't know precisely where the shots were coming from. His facts were very different. Their radios worked, his didn't. Calls came directly to that agency, not his. You can't plausibly analogize his case to the others. I wish those officers the very best. This officer, completely different. Snow White innocent, and thankfully the jurors made that clear.
Thank you for understanding the need to ask the
Scott, is
question.
there anything you want to say to this community who may be split over this verdict or have different feelings? What would you say to parents or students who have kids in the schools? I mean, anything you want to share?
When it comes to regarding you mean the shooting itself, or just the community
Just
itself?
people who maybe thought that you didn't do the right thing that day, regardless of what the jury says.
Anyone who has a question, this trial is now online. Go watch it from the very beginning all the way through. Those who make comments the loudest are ones who don't spend the time to see what the facts are. Just watch the trial. Just watch it from beginning to end. It's right there. Go to YouTube.
But
Put
for
his
those
name
who
in.
maybe don't have that time, and we didn't hear from you during the trial, is there anything you'd want to share with the community?
All I would just say is, in any type of incident, do your due diligence. try to learn the facts. And even though I'm talking to the media, sometimes, the media doesn't put out all the facts. And I guess you really need to try to take your time and try to learn what occurs before we start, throwing the daggers at people. And unfortunately, in this situation, because what Scott Israel did to me on February 22nd, 2018, a day I'll never forget, and he blindsided me like that. The media listened to what Sheriff Israel said, and that became the storyline, unfortunately. And I was the low-hanging fruit. So my word meant very little. And Scott Israel, the most powerful politician in Broward County, his word was everything. And you can't compete with that. And that's what put me in this.
Yes, Christina.
Local 10 News, as a station, had a question. They just wondered if you all are going to be pursuing maybe any civil suit or filing suit against Scott Israel.
We're celebrating 4 years of meritless charges being over a 32-year decorated officer's head. We'll look into everything after the fact. Right now, we're celebrating his freedom.
Amen.
All right, so thank you, guys. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Let's go.
Just watch them go, and then we'll switch back. Oh, welcome, Stacey Henry.
Bullshit session's over.
Bullshit session's over.
I understand.
Oh, okay. Here we go. The father, the one of the families.
Tony, I know you're disappointed. What was going through your heart and mind when those verdicts were being read?
Well, sadly, we don't understand what you need to see to find people guilty in Broward County. There's video of former Deputy Peterson hearing the shots, running and hiding, taking up a position for 48 minutes, standing still while other officers rushed in, standing still while victims were brought out, standing still after retreating from the 1200 building where he was dropped off at. This was a court case regarding the law. The law is very technical. As you can hear, the fine, good sportsmanship of Deputy Peterson and the lawyer's family as they cheer this victory. For our families, we still feel he should be haunted every day by his fight to act. I know that he contributed, I should say, to the deaths of my daughter Gina, her schoolmates, and their teachers. His inaction contributed to the shock and devastation of students and teachers at that school. His inaction contributed to the pain of our entire community. And we don't understand how this jury looked at the evidence that was presented and found him not guilty. Someday they'll be able to talk about it if they choose to. I'll be interested to hear what they had to say. But again, this case was about the law. It was not about whether or not his actions were cowardly. Many of us and many of you reported on the officer from Allen, Texas last night. We saw that officer run to address the threat, to take the initiative to go and stop the threat, even though he didn't know where the shots were coming from. That's the kind of action we all hope. And as far as school resource officers, despite the actions here of this failed deputy, we do support school resource officers. We believe that they are a vital part of protecting our children and our teachers at school. Stand with Parkland has said that many times. We will continue to say it. However, we need it to be an insurance policy that pays off. The basic technical requirement to be able to address a threat and stop it, regardless of the obstacles you're facing, is vital to all school resource officers. Deputy Peterson did not have that skill. He was an insurance policy that didn't pay off. And all I can say to the members of the jury is, I think your school should hire him to protect your children. You think he did the right thing? Please reach out. He's probably looking for work, and he'll be happy to come to your schools.
We asked if, he had a message for parents like you, and he said, let's sit down, let's talk
No.
about what happened.
No, bring me my daughter back. We'll all trade anything to get our kids back. The spouses that lost someone, they want them back too. And if that's not going to happen, why do we need to talk to this failure? He
No,
didn't
this
do
is
the
the
right thing.
father
Ran
of a
away.
kid that died.
Despite what was said by the defense in this case, there's no excuse for running away. We watched him turn tail from that building. We watched him stand there as if he were a narrator instead of seeking out the threat, stopping the massacre that was going on inside that building. Anybody who goes to that school and looks at the difference between where he was standing and the 1200 building will know there's no way you could mistake where those shots were coming from. We saw the video of children running from the 700 building when the fire alarm went off, but nobody ran out of the 1200 building. That didn't set off a police officer's senses. It didn't convince him that why is nobody running out from this building and everybody's running out from the other building? I mean, come on. We have to expect some training. I believe law enforcement officers have a tough job. I know most of them are dedicated, but clearly when it came time, Deputy Peterson turned tail and ran.
Chuck, you said that the legal case here was technical. I wonder if you think legislators need to consider a different sort of statute.
Well,
for this
Stanwith
situation.
Parkland has been known to change a few laws when we're not happy and we see things that need to be changed. So we'll get our board together. We'll look at this issue and we'll see if we need to change the laws here in Florida to reflect the accountability that we should expect. There's no reason parents shouldn't expect a school resource officer to protect their children while they're at school.
What does it say about the system where the killer escapes the death penalty and the person you believe is partly responsible is acquitted? What does it say about Brown?
I'll definitely say that for myself. I feel that my faith in the U.S. justice system is shaken. And I feel that the people of Broward County need to learn how to hold people accountable when they fail. How you can have 17 people die in a school and everybody's labeled a hero, I don't know. I just don't know.
That was, as you know, going to be my question as well, in terms of right here, right now, to think to yourself, I'm standing on the same floor in another post-outcome news conference expressing disappointment from your perspective, Howard, and what's going, like right now, what's going on?
Well, right now, it's very traumatic to have to have been in the same courtroom where we saw the murderer of Gina, her classmates, and her teachers be allowed to live after she was murdered so horrifically. To hear people cheer when Deputy Peterson was acquitted, despite his actions. Again, this was a case about technicalities of law. And despite the fact that he was acquitted, it will not change the video that should be seared in everyone's mind of his cowardly actions as he ran away from that building, where the shots were ringing out, where students and teachers were defenseless, depending on the school resource officer
Yeah, then.
to save them.
You guys, Mr. Hoyer would like to say a couple words.
We got another one now. Another father.
I'm here. Go. Mr. Hoyer, go ahead. Your reaction. I know it's tough, but your reaction.
Yeah, just deeply, deeply disappointed. I don't know what our kids or teachers are supposed to do in a school where the person that's supposed to protect them doesn't. In this case, Scott Peterson was dropped off at the very door of the building that the shooter went in, 10 feet from the door. Could have taken 10 steps forward. Could have been a hero. Could have taken 75 or 20 steps backwards and be a coward. He took the steps backwards. There's just no accountability for this. It's just all the evidence, all the video. It just shows that he valued his life over the life of the people on the third floor. And you just can't help but contrast that with the video that came out of the body cam for the police officer that responded in Allen, Texas, came out yesterday. Individual by himself, running hundreds of yards towards the gunfire. You can hear him on the video saying he doesn't know where the shooter is. He doesn't stop. He keeps moving forward until he finds the shooter, engages, and neutralizes. Scott Peterson backed up and hid behind the pole.